Hey there, my conscious celestials. My name is 𝗘𝗫𝗣𝗟𝗏 and I'm here to help you consciously create the life that you desire. Okay, so today's video was requested by someone for me to talk about something called revision. Now, revision is something that Neville Goddard didn't create this, it's just a thing. But someone called Neville Goddard, if you don't know who he is, you need to go and Google him, read his books, read his lectures, etc, etc. He talks all about the law of assumption, visualization, etc, etc. If you do really know about Neville Goddard, then you know that he talks about something called revision. So revision is basically a technique or something you can do where you take an undesirable situation that you have experienced. That could be a conversation with someone, hearing news about something, something that someone did to you, etc, etc. Something that is normally undesirable. You take that situation, you see it in your mind's eye, and you change it and you relive it in a way that you want it to be. It's in one of his lectures, I think it's called The Pruning Shears of Revision, from 1954, if my memory hasn't failed me. I think it's that one. But within that, he talks about revision and he talks about it from the perspective of, Neville Goddard, talks about it from the perspective and the understanding as well, that everyone is you pushed out. Again, this is something that Neville Goddard spoke about, and he basically explains how you perceive people, what you expect of them, how you feel about them, etc, etc. They will reflect that back to you. So however you expect someone to be, however you expect that gender to be, those kind of people to be, etc, etc, your friends to be, all that kind of stuff, whatever you expect people to be, they have to conform to that due to the law. So he explains revision from that perspective in this lecture. So based on that, if you had a situation with someone, let's say for example, you had a conversation with someone and it didn't go well, it didn't go how you wanted it to go, they said mean things, or they said things that you didn't want them to hear, or they acted a certain way towards you, etc, etc. You expect that person to be that way. You have expected that, they have acted that way, and in your mind, that's how you expect them to be with you. For example, if there's someone that you met yesterday that was mean or whatever, you expect them to be that way. You expect that of them. So for you to see a change in people, for you to see a change in your reality, etc, how you interact with those people, what happens moving forward, etc, etc, you have to change it in your mind's eye from the perspective of you're basically changing that situation so much so that it seems real to you now, that how you are imagining it in your head, the desirable way that you are imagining it, seems so real and is real to you, real enough for it to now change future events and how that person acts with you. So in that lecture, Neville talks about revising your days on a daily basis, basically, and forgiving people in your mind, and how that's going to change your experience with people and people in general. So he explains it in a sense that every night before you go to bed, or just after your day, when you finish your day, think about your day and think about what has occurred in your day. So go through all the events, all the conversations you've had with people, your interactions, how people treated you, what you experienced, etc, etc. Live it how it is. Then he says to go back through your day and change things that you didn't like. So in your mind's eye, relive that situation. If it was a conversation with someone, in your mind's eye, so in your imagination, relive that thing in a way that you want it, in the way that you want it to go, and relive it and repeat it so much so and so many times that it becomes real to you. As he says, it takes on tones of reality. So much so that it seems real, and that now feels like it's your new memory of the day. He says to relive and basically keep repeating your day the way that you want it. That is revision. You're basically changing events in the past to the way that you want them to be. So by doing that, you are changing how you view and what you expect of people. Before, like I said, you might have expected someone who was mean to you today to continue to be mean. You might have expected like your SP or whatever to not be nice to you, to, I don't know, ghost you, whatever you've expected. Oh, so you could also he explains it from, in that particular lecture, he explains it from the perspective of going through your day-to-day. You can also use revision to change events, like at any point, any event that's happened. So I know when it comes to revision and stuff like that, a lot of people bring it up or talk about it when it comes to their SP, their specific person. You know, their SP has told them they never want to speak to them again, they don't love them, etc., all that kind of stuff. And people might want to use revision for that particular event. There might be other events in your life that, you know, you feel as if have made a big change or have caused XYZ between you and someone else, and you might want to go back and revise that. So revision can be used not just for your day-to-day, but also it can be used for specific events that happened in the past. I'm going to go into more explanation as to why I'm saying the past in a little bit, but yes, you can change events that happened in the past. Yeah, so because you now have changed those events, you've changed them in your mind's eye, it's become real to you, you've relived them, it feels real, etc., the people and, you know, the whole world, the people that you are changing the events about and how you feel about them, what you expect of them, all that kind of stuff, then it's going to be changed in the future. So he says specifically in that lecture, if there's someone that has disappointed you today, I assure you by revising it, they will no longer, like, you know, that they're not going to disappoint you tomorrow, because you have changed your view of them. You've changed what you expect of them. You've also changed an event which is affecting how you think and feel about that person, what you expect of that person. And therefore, moving forward, due to the law, due to everyone who's you pushed out, due to the law in general, etc., that person, that situation has to change moving forward. And it has to change because you are the source. Your mind is always the source. Within your own reality, within what you experience, you are the source. So if you want something to change moving forward, you have to realize that you are the source. How you think, feel, what you expect, what you assume of that person, etc., is what is going to allow you to experience different things regarding those people, regarding the world, all that kind of stuff. So you are the source, and the whole point of how he explains a vision, the whole point is to change things at the source, which is you, for you to experience desirable realities, desirable situations with people. He also mentions in that lecture about revision and how you can also use it to revise what people say. Like, let's say, for example, a friend has an interview and then that friend comes to you and they tell you that, oh, they didn't get it, or this didn't go well, or that didn't go well, or they're not well, or etc. He says to use a vision to change that. So he says it from the perspective of, obviously, you are the source and what you experience in your reality with people is based on you. So by you accepting as truth, as that person has come to you and told you that, you know, they don't have a job, they didn't get the job, they're unwell, etc. By you accepting that as truth, you are currently going to continue to maintain that in your reality. So he says to use a vision to change that. See the person how you want to see them. So instead of them coming to you and having a conversation with you about how they didn't get the job, or this has gone wrong, that has gone wrong, etc., use revision to change it into how you want it to be, to allow that, to also allow that person to experience that thing. Basically use it for good. Revise things and revise everything to make your world how you desire it to be. And you can use that also for other people, because like I said, what you expect of people, what you believe about people, etc., also affects what you perceive and what you experience, and also what others experience too. Like, we're all co-creators, basically. We're all creating together. We're all intertwined. We're all one. So he also explains revision in that way, and you can also use it for that. So that is the basis of revision, how Neville Goddard explains it, what revision is, all that kind of stuff. Now I want to get on to how and why revision works. So what you need to understand is we live in a multiverse with parallel realities, all running, coexisting simultaneously at the same time. This is a lot to understand. Maybe if it's the first time you've heard it, it might not be the first time you've heard it, but basically it works on the basis that everything is happening now. Past, present, future all happen at the same time. Like, everything is happening simultaneously at the exact same time. Now, the reason at first that might seem hard to believe for us, as in like, how can you tell me that, you know, like yesterday is happening right now, or my future self, whatever's going on in the future is happening right now? That is because our minds can only perceive one timeline. We can only perceive what is happening like now, but at the same time, everything is a possibility and a probability. So there is a version, there is a situation, there is a reality where I'm not making these videos, where you're not sitting here doing these videos, where I never made a YouTube channel about the law of assumption and manifesting, where I might be doing a completely different thing. There's other probabilities of you, of basically any scenario that you can think of. There is a probability and there is a reality in which that exists. I know it might seem hard. Hopefully, if you do already understand this, then great. If you don't, it does take a little bit of getting your head around it. But the bottom line and the easiest thing to understand is that everything is happening now. Okay, so obviously I don't know all the like scientific side of this, or whether I'm explaining this completely scientifically accurately or whatever. But basically, we shift realities constantly, and you will shift to a certain reality based on your thoughts and your emotions. So with the law of assumption, with manifesting, etc., your states, how you feel, what you expect, what you assume, all of that will then select. The words that I'm using make it seem like, I don't know if this is coming across correctly, but basically we constantly shift realities, and the way for you to shift to a certain reality is to have the emotions, the feelings, the expectations, etc., that resonate with that particular reality. So whenever we are manifesting, whenever we are trying to get to something, that's what I mean, and that's what I say in terms of, you need to feel like just repeating the affirmations about something is not going to get you there. You need to feel it. You need to like be aligned with it, as they say. You need to be aligned. You need to have the emotions and the thoughts and the feelings that resonate with that particular reality, and then you will shift to that reality. Now, it's something that we don't necessarily feel. It's not really something that is like, I don't know, that you might expect in a movie where you're going to suddenly like shift and it's like a, you know, I'm going to suddenly shift there. We don't necessarily feel it, but that basically is what the law is doing. That's what manifesting is doing. So when it comes to revision, the reason why revision works is, okay, obviously everything is happening now, but when it comes to revision, you are changing a past event so much so that you believe that to be true. It seems real to you, etc. So now you are selecting new feelings, new emotions for you to then align with, that are then going to recreate a new potential future. Basically, you're basically shifting to a new reality where that conversation didn't happen. A conversation happened how you wanted it to happen. So therefore there's a new timeline, there's a new future that comes from that conversation going how you wanted it to go in your head. If that makes sense, that basically is what revision is doing. You basically are recreating and revising how things were into the way that you want them, which then aligns you into new thoughts and new emotions that then align with like a new reality. This sounds really complicated, but I hope it's making sense. Basically, by changing the past, you are then shifting to a new reality. You are then manifesting a new reality. You're then creating a new reality, and new things that you're going to experience, because as with all manifestation, what manifests is what you see as truth, what you believe to be true, you know, your feelings, etc., that resonate with that. So by changing the past, you are recreating the past, you're recreating that version of reality, and you are then going to shift and create a new future because what manifests is what you see as truth. So if you now believe that that event happened in the way that you want it to, you therefore basically have to shift realities to the reality where that did happen. And like I said, everything is happening now. We live in a parallel universe, a multiverse. Everything is happening right now at the same time, simultaneously. So it's basically to make the shift. That is why revision works. It's hard to prove. There's no way to really prove it. And the reason, and another thing with revision is that I feel like it puts a lot of emphasis on the past. It can make you think and feel as if you have to change the past in order for future things to be a certain way. So for example, it can make you feel as if there's an SP, for example, and you constantly keep remembering a conversation that you had with that SP about them saying they don't love you anymore and all that kind of stuff, it can then make you feel as if, oh, like if I don't go back and I don't revise and I don't change that certain situation, then this person is not gonna, you know, love me, or if I can't manifest the relationship that I want with them, or just with anything. It doesn't have to be SP related, but if there's any situation in the past that you don't like, or you think and feel as if it's the reason for all of your like downfalls and all that kind of stuff, it makes you feel as if it makes you put your power in a position of the past is where the power is, and that is not the case. So yes, by all means, 100% you can revise things, you can choose to revise things, you can revise situations, you can revise your day, and it will create a new future for you. It will lead you into the things that you want, but you don't need to revise things. It is a choice. And by understanding the whole concept that everything is happening now, you therefore understand that you therefore don't need to revise something in the past to change it. Everything is happening now. So your power is in the now. Like I said, yes, if you want to go back and revise things, it definitely will change things, but the understanding needs to come that revision, again, is just another approach that you can have to this whole manifesting stuff. It's not the be all and end all. It's not, oh, if I don't revise the situation, I can't change things. The understanding comes when you know that everything is happening now. So you don't have to do that. You can just change the now. You can just change consciously how you think and feel about that situation, and think about it in a desirable way of what you do want. You don't have to change the past in order to get there, or in order to get that. It's one thing that you can do, but you don't have to. I hope that's helped, and I hope that's given you a bit more understanding on what revision is and how revision works. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.